Good evening, and welcome to ManGuard Rovers. I am
Hello.
Sean, and I'm joined again with Phil and Nathan.
Good
And
evening.
today
Hello.
we'll break down the all the action and reaction from this weekend's football. Lots to discuss, lots of VAR incidents to discuss.
Dear
So
me.
yeah, let's get into it. So the first game we had today, this weekend, was Chelsea and Fulham.
Yeah.
Um,
Controversy all over that one.
yeah. So let's start with yourself, Phil. Again, welcome to ManGuard. You predicted 3-0 Chelsea win.
Well, so I wasn't far off, was I? I had confidence. I mean, it mainly comes because I've got a couple of Chelsea players in the old fantasy football thing, so I feel like I've got to show them some loyalty. But I thought they'd have too much of Fulham. It turns out they did, thanks to the referee. But
Poor goal for the
I,
Josh King goal
you
to
know
be
what?
disallowed.
It's just scandalous that what they sold us when they brought VAR in. So what we've now got is just crazy, and the insanity of the justification of the the Fulham players made a careless challenge. He was in possession of the ball. How can you make a challenge when you're in possession of the ball? It's absolutely mental. And where is he supposed to put his foot? If I stick my foot under your foot, that's not a foul, is it? Like, it's just outrageous. So that's huge. That was the entire momentum of the game. Ignore the fact, obviously, that young lad had his moment stolen from him, which was fantastic. But then it's London Derby, and that's the entire momentum shifted for just a crazy decision. The flip side, obviously, the Fulham one is a penalty, or the Chelsea penalty is a penalty. And apart from that, I guess it's pretty regulation, to be honest. If he gets caught in the debate around should have been 49 minutes injury time or not, but I think that's just semantics, really, because we should all be clear. The refs are always clear. It's a minimum of a certain amount of stoppage time. But said Chelsea would have too much. Turns out they did. I think they got lucky. It turns out I don't think they would have had enough if VAR hadn't intervened and saved them, but it did. And pretty straightforward win, apart from Fulham's angst, to be honest, in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Pedro again, obviously over goal. New signing for Chelsea again. He's
very good,
looking
isn't
really
he?
impressive.
Very good.
Yeah, I like the look of him. I must admit, I was slightly jealous when he turned us down and agreed to move to Chelsea. That was a little bit frustrating. We've been following him for a couple of years, so I'm always one of those people. I like to see people do well. I like to see players go to clubs and be
We
successful.
seen what he were like at Brighton, didn't we? We had a
Yeah,
glimpse, and
we
I think
had.
you can see he's playing in. And no disrespect to Brighton, you can see him playing with a lot better players, and
Yeah,
sometimes players thrive off that, don't they? And he seems to be doing that at the minute. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but I've been very impressed with how he started at Chelsea, and Chelsea have got that sort of focal point, which is what they've been missing for the last couple of seasons, where they've had strikers that have come in on big money, but maybe have had again flashes of brilliance, and then sort of not moments where they haven't done it. So he seems like he's the real deal, doesn't he? So
yeah. I mean, you, you put 2-0 Chelsea win. I also had a 2-0 win for Chelsea put down this weekend. I think if you're a Chelsea fan, I think you've got every right to be excited this season. I think your players that you've got in, the depth you've got to compete in the
they're going to be
trophies,
they're
I
going to be
think they're going to be
contenders.
dangerous. I do think that they are slight dark horses.
I
Fair play to
agree.
them. So a comfortable 3 points for Chelsea in the end. 4 points for me, 4 points for you, Nathan, and a point for yourself, Phil, on that one in terms of correct scores and results. We then had Man United and Burnley. I'm going to start with myself. I said it'd be a VAR decision that gives the 3 points to Man United. I predicted 2-1 with a VAR decision. We got that VAR decision. Fellas, what are your thoughts?
So it's a tricky one, wasn't it? I think the noise that you can see is that it was a penalty. He obviously he pulled his shirt, but the momentum took him into the box. So that obviously, whether you agree or disagree with the rules, once he's in the penalty area as well, despite being outside the box, it's still a penalty. Very controversial. I don't. If it had happened the other way around, and if I'd have been a Villa fan, happened to me, you're thinking, oh, it's outside the area. But the noise that I'm sort of hearing, it was a penalty. And obviously, Bruno Fernandes has got to come in. He's got to dispatch the penalty. So there is a little bit of nerves on him. Obviously, massive pressure, obviously, to what happened, in the cup game. And I will bring that up while we're watching that, to lose that
Well,
game. Pathetic
we'll
and
come on to
embarrassing, in
penalties
my
shortly.
opinion.
and Man United themselves. But like, so Nathan, you also had a 2-1 win for Man United.
So we predicted that Burnley were going to score, and I think this seems to be the theme, don't we, against Man United? Even like with Burnley, or you still see teams going to Man United getting a win, or even at minimum scoring, and that never used to be the case, did it, at Old Trafford?
Goalkeeper soft. And the goalkeeper soft. It was another goalkeeping error for Burnley's equaliser, wasn't it? Just palmed the ball straight back to the Burnley striker. So they look soft in that area. I think we talked about, they've signed a new goalkeeper who's going to be under a hell of a lot of pressure, bearing in mind the two jokers he's got around him. So, the defence looks poor because of the goalkeeper. Although, to be fair, the marking for Burnley's first goal was just atrocious. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, about 6 yards clear around him, right on the edge of the 6 yard, but like just crazy. No one marking him at all. But so the defence is poor, but the front line looked.
If you're a Burnley fan, you're unlucky, but you feel a bit positive because you know that you've gone to Man United. It's literally took a penalty decision for him to get the win. So
I think the issue with the penalty decision for me, I touched like the Fulham one, is we got promised, didn't we? VAR was not going to re-referee the match. Now, the referee did not give that as a penalty, and I get what you're saying, Nate. And you're absolutely right. It's a subjective interpretation in terms of the foul starts outside the box. Then it's subjective that says the foul carries on inside the box, and VAR makes the determination the force is only enough to bring him down when he's inside the box. Now, with the best will in the world, right, and if I pull your shirt when I walk next to you, is it enough to make you fall over? No. So there's no such thing as force of a shirt pull that's enough to bring a player down. It's absolute crap. And therefore, for me, VAR has re-refereed the match because it's not clear and obvious. The shirt pull starts outside the box. Therefore, you could argue VAR shouldn't be involved. Or and at the point of him falling over in the box, it's subjective whether or not you think there's enough force being used. So I don't think, and I just wish from both those incidents, the Chelsea one we talked about and that one, the referees on the pitch actually had a spine and just went, do you know what? No, I saw it. I saw the tug outside the box. It's not a penalty, and he didn't fall down outside the box. So I'm not giving a free kick. So thank you very much. Get back in your box. It's not a penalty. But they just don't do it. They're terrified of being told when they go to the monitor. If they overturn the monitor, they're terrified of overturning the monitor.
They're going against the grain in there. They're going against the system.
But they're getting smacked because they can hide, because everyone knows they'll just blame. If they get it wrong, the refs know. No one's blaming it. Ref, everyone's going to have VAR shit again. So the ref can go, I'm out of this because like I'll just give your decision, and if it's right, I'll get away with it because everyone go VAR is amazing. If it's wrong, everyone just go VAR shit. But no one will ever mention the referee on the pitch. But people shouldn't go. You're the referee. If you didn't think that was a penalty, you should stand by your guns. And same with the Chelsea one. The referee should go, no, the Fulham player had the ball. Really, thanks for interrupting my game, but I'm not going to give it because I don't think it was a foul. And it's really irritating. So, like you said, my issue with it is not that it wasn't a penalty. I guess my issue with it is, in my mind, it was a subjective decision and therefore not clear and obvious. And therefore VAR shouldn't have got involved, in my mind. Because the referee had a clear line of sight, he could see it. There was no players between him and the foul.
I think if the foul's committed before it's in the box, I don't think it should be a foul inside the box because that's where the foul originally happened. And again, people will say to me, but it's the rules are. Yes, I agree that they are because in this day and age, it was a penalty. But for me personally, as sort of wanting to be old school, he's pulled him down outside the 18-yard area. That's where the foul should be given, in my opinion. So
agreed. I think Man United dodged a bullet there, to be fair, because the defence was awful. And to be fair, they wasted so many chances as well. Like as much as like they won at the death, they should have been about 2 or 3 goals clear. So they only had themselves to blame. So as much as Burnley stayed in it and had a bit of a battling underdog performance, Man United should have been 2 or 3 goals clear. So they made really hard work of it. But you know what? They're going into the international break on a positive, aren't they? So fair play.
They've won the game. That's if you're negative into a positive for United, we've got the result. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't great, but the 3 points is all that matters.
So Phil, you had a 3-1 win for Manchester United on there.
I thought this was 3.
You also had in brackets must win. Is that must win before or after the Grimsby shit show that we saw?
Well, so I think we filmed before the Grimsby shit show, didn't we? And I think we all assumed Man United were going to win at the Grimsby match. So I guess I'd double down on my brackets and say like, yeah, it was an absolute must win. Do you know what I mean? And again, like I say, it's one of them in it where if Amarim's still there in a couple of years' time, it's a bit like the Fergie win, innit? It was the famous Fergie win where they reckon, who saved his job? I said the famous. There was one match, wasn't there, where they reckoned Fergie was going to get sacked if he didn't win it, and they won it towards the end. And no one's remembering that if Amarim stays in the job, but they just remember that they beat Burnley. So they just had to get that one over the line, and we can debate apparently they had to get that one over the line. And from that perspective, as much as, and I'm as happy to bash Man United as the next person, but they did exactly what they needed to do. And I think a lot of that people have mocked them, haven't they, for the celebration at the end when you managed to beat Burnley. But I think it's more a case, and we've all been there. It's just
the emotion. He's under massive pressure, isn't he?
I think they all knew the grief they would take on social media, the grief they take on the media, the grief that would go in the papers if they lost that match. So I think the relief of we can switch off from the Man United stress now for 2 weeks. They've got the international break. A lot of them are going away to perform on international duty. Amarim can go and put his feet up for a little few days, get his head sorted out, and it just lets him come back afterwards. But I mean, flicking that, they're coming back to face City, aren't they? So it's not like they're coming back to an easy match.
So we've had like today earlier on one of our WhatsApp groups the fact that Man United are ahead of Newcastle and Villa. Yes, they are, but my prediction will be is that we will get better, and Man United, if they carry on to continue wobbling, they may start seeing like some more of these tougher results or tougher games happening. So,
well, I need to be careful with that because I do believe I predicted Man United would finish above both of you anyway. I think I picked them as fifth when we did our preview show, so I'm actually quite pleased with that because it shows that I'm definitely I'm going with pundit of the week over here.
So form is temporary, class is permanent, and that's what we're going to say now.
So obviously, it's deadline day today, and we've done a show already. And, we're pre-recording the next show. In terms of transfers, Sesko apparently he refused to take a penalty until he was forced to take the penalty. Now, as a new signing,
10th, wasn't it? I believe was he the 10th choice, or did he take the 10th?
He had to be forced to take a penalty before a runner.
If you're a striker and you back out of a penalty, in my opinion, you shouldn't be a striker because that's what you should do. Get that ball on the spot and kick the ball in the back of the net. That's what you're paid to do. Stop being a fanny about it and get the penalty taken.
If you give him the counter arguments, that's why I agree with you, Nate. I do. I think you should be front and centre. I think when you look at Man United's first 5 penalty takers, that they all either take penalties for their country or they've taken penalties for their previous clubs. Like so, Mbeumo and Cunha were both the penalty takers for their 2 previous clubs. So I think we look at that. Man United's first 5 penalty takers are first choice penalty takers. I think my only, I guess, and I don't know this at all. This is just speculation, but my only speculation might be Sesko. Maybe you didn't want your first goal for your new club to be in a penalty shootout. Like maybe do you know what I mean? Maybe he wanted to score a proper goal as his first goal. And he was like, well, I can't really win, can I? Because if I miss the penalty, I'm going to get abused for missing the penalty.
He scored it, didn't he?
But if he scores it, so now his first ever goal for Man United was in a penalty shootout. Now, maybe he just didn't want that. Maybe he wanted his first goal to be a proper goal.
It's just strange. It'd be like, and again, I'm not comparing. Like, I know Ollie Watkins doesn't have the best penalty record, but if he wasn't in our top 5 to take the first penalties, I'd be like, there's something strange here because he should be, whether he misses or not. The striker for me, or the striker that's on the field at the time, should be in your 5, in my opinion. So,
yeah. But I mean, I think I did hear today. What was I listening to today? I was listening to one of the TalkSport pundits, anyway, one of the European folk. And he was saying that actually, they've got this we buy by committee now in a lot of the big clubs, and apparently they were saying that the word on the street was that Amarim wanted Ollie Watkins, and whoever Man United's hired, is it? Who's the Man United?
Jason Wilcox, isn't it?
And Wilcox was pushing for Sesko.
So then again, you've got the clash, haven't you?
Who's the guy who came from Manchester City? But is it Barada? Yeah, Barada. and Barada sided with Wilcox apparently, and that's why they went with Sesko. So they were theorised. They were saying potentially that's why Sesko's not starting. It's Leicester with not being fit, and most of Amorim doesn't actually like him as his style of striker.
But then even though Amorim's in charge, the board are going to say we haven't just weighed out 60, 70 million for a striker and to sit on the bench. So you start him, or you're going to find yourself out of a job very quickly. So
particularly when you're not scoring enough goals, so it makes it very difficult for him. But at the minute, I would say, with my beautiful badge above my head, I'd say it looks like Arsenal took the right choice. Gyökeres has scored 2 and he's starting even though he's not fit, and Sesko looks. Did you know what? Sesko just doesn't look like an upgrade on Rasmus Højlund. That's probably I don't think they'd have been any worse off just playing Rasmus Højlund up front. At least he pressed.
At this minute, I agree, but obviously, let's probably see where Sesko is or where Man United are in the next 5 to 6 games. So,
but cracking game for the Premiership, isn't it? 3-2 with a last-minute winner. Do you know what I mean? It's just an exciting match. Is what we want to see.
It's a game everyone. It's a game you like seeing. It full of drama, full of controversy.
As a neutral, you'd watch that every day of the week, and that's what we want.
It was a good watch. It was dramatic, yeah. We then had Sunderland and Brentford.
Good result for Sunderland. Very good result.
For Sunderland. It was packed. Again, the themselves to be quite forceful at home in getting results. So fair play to Sunderland. Nathan, you had it down as a 1-1 draw.
So I wasn't far off then, was I? So yeah, I think a game that, again, with the home advantage, you're probably, looking at it now, Sunderland have just got the advantage. I believe, did Brentford have a goal disallowed as well before half time? Because they went 1-0 up, didn't they? And then it got disallowed, I believe. But yeah, obviously Sunderland came back, didn't they? They were 1-0 down, 1-2-1. As a promoted team, you can't ask for more than that, can you? When you fall behind in the Premier League, particularly at home, when you come back and you win. So, as a Sunderland fan, you're going to be very happy that the fact that you've managed to pull that result out. So yeah, I can't say it was a game that I watched too closely, if I'm being honest. But I do know that, like I said, they come from behind to win, and that's all you can ask for, in my opinion.
4 points for yourself, Phil. You correctly predicted 2-1 result for
my boy Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka, he's backer. What a cross that was for the winner. And fair play, I don't know if you saw the lad's interview. Fair play, that lad who scored the winner. His partner had their first daughter, like literally 18 hours earlier. He got hardly any sleep that night, obviously, because he'd done all hard work. And then he turns up and puts a performance like that in and gets the winner.
Fair play to him. If that was his situation, you can't. What like a whirlwind sort of 24 to 48 hours that is.
Absolutely crazy for him. So that was really good for him. And I like that. Like I said to you, I think, boys, when I did this, I just think Sunderland have got a chance of turning that into a fortress. I think it will be hard to go there. You listen. I only saw the match of the day bit, but the atmosphere and the coming from those Sunderland fans as soon as that equaliser went in, you just thought like they're just sucking the ball.
Spurs want to go and get another, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can see it. That belief and like the first when they won the first week, so we talked about them with the fact they were still attacking, trying to get the third goal in the 90-something minutes. That attitude and that approach, I think, is going to work really well for them. That they're not giving up. They're going all the way to the end. So, yeah, good result for Sunderland. And like I say, nice to see Granit Xhaka playing well again in the Premier League.
I predicted a 2-1 win for Brentford, so 0 points myself. Probably a little bit biased there with that. Moving on, we had Spurs and Bournemouth, which again was another
shock of the week. Shock of the weekend.
Talked me into stepping away. I said to you two at the start of the season, I was predicting the Spurs loss every week, and you two talked me into.
Hey, don't be blaming me. Don't be blaming us.
I felt like Planet of the Apes. Spurs together, draw. No.
It was it was for me. It was the Yaka Buster, wasn't it, of the weekend? Because I don't think anyone or not many people would have predicted Bournemouth. Which obviously, if you go off last season, obviously Bournemouth finished higher than Spurs, had a far better season. But we thought, obviously, with the form of obviously Tottenham going into it, and Bournemouth there, you're going to be backing Spurs. So what did I back, Sean? Did I go for a 2 or 3-0 win for Spurs?
So you had a 3-0 win for Spurs. Phil, yourself, you had a 3-1 win for Spurs, and I also had a 2-1 win for Spurs. So we were all wrong there.
They played well, didn't they, Burnley? Apparently, it could have been 4 or 5. So Bournemouth, sorry. So fair play to them.
Vicario kept Spurs in the match in the second half. It absolutely, Bournemouth could have had more.
Spursy again, though,
really
isn't
well,
it? Like,
so.
we use that word, or that word thrown around. It's very Spursy, isn't it? It's very Spursy to do that. Ange Postecoglou quote, it's just it's who we are, mate. It's who we are.
Honestly, poor Thomas the Frank Engine didn't know what he was doing. He was out of coal, out of chuff, out of puff. It's
just a bit, it's a bit of a moment where he's in this bubble, isn't he? Because he's had the perfect start, he's done really well, and then that bubble's just bang popped a little bit now.
You know what though? I think to be fair, accepting the fact that we now know what we know, I think if you just said to Spurs fans, bearing in mind Manchester City was the second game away. If you said to Spurs fans, you got 6 points from your first 3 games, so I think to put it into context, again, football's a funny. Oh God, I can't believe I'm sounding like Jimmy Greaves. Funny old game in it in terms of what we all thought we were happy with 3 weeks ago. We're now all pissed off with today. Like I think Spurs fans would have taken 6 points from those 9. Because they would have assumed away to City was possibly a loss, particularly based off how they played last season. So I think yes, it's a bit of a reality check or a moment check of where Spurs are as a team. And to be fair to a lot of us thought Bournemouth might struggle after the transfer window. So, but I think realistically, it's not a bad first 3 games for Spurs, is it? To have 6 points from 3 is not a bad first.
No,
they've got the Etihad out of the way. No, it's a difficult fixture for everybody. So.
Evan Nilsson, though, potential if for value for money for the fantasy football, you just don't know, do you?
Really good player, scoring some good points. Moving on, then we had Wolves at home to Everton. We're going to start with you, Nathan, simply because obviously there's a chap we'd probably all like to give a mention to, which is Jack Grealish. And again, what performance from Jack! Fantastic to see playing in the positions that he should be playing in with that little bit of freedom.
I described this on one of my WhatsApp groups to some friends. It's a bird that was caged that's now been allowed to roam free. And I think what you can see is that you can see Jack Grealish now thriving off the fact that Moyes has gone, you're going to be my main man now. You're going to start every game. I mean, he started in the cup against Mansfield as well, I believe. So he needed game time anyway. But you can just see, yes, he hasn't scored, but you can just see what he brings to that Everton team now. It's something that they haven't had for many years, in my opinion.
You've had Dewsbury Hall,
that's a great game.
They played really well with him as well. Their link-up play, those two, looks like it could have.
They seem like they've got an understanding, don't they? And I think obviously to see Grealish run the show is good. Again, if you Wolves, I think would Everton 3-1 up or 3-0?
Yeah, 3-1 up. Yeah.
So again, if you're a Wolves fan, I mean, I'll smile because obviously they're our Midlands rivals, but. I think they're in trouble. I know they've obviously brought a couple of people in on deadline day, the day that we're doing this. Can't say I know too much about the players, but I think they're going to be in massive trouble this year. I think they are going to be very close to getting relegated. And obviously for Everton, that is a very, very good win. And I think that's two. They again 6 out of 9. You'd look at Everton and you'd have took that compared to how they were last season. It just seems a bit of a whirlwind, or not a whirlwind, but it just seems like a complete different sort of setting as to the football that Sean Dyche was playing to what Moyes does.
It's interesting. We said, didn't we? I think it's, I don't know they had a good result the weekend, but I think West Ham fans must be looking over going, should we have, should we have backed Moyes more in the transfer window? Yeah, because Moyes, they've got, like you said, they've got Dewsbury Hall, they've got Grealish in, they've got Tyler Dibbling. He doesn't look like he's in the park of the bus this season, does he? Like it looks like he's going to play attacking football. So, but yeah, really good result.
It was a good win. And what did we predict, Sean?
So, I had you and myself had 2-1 to Everton. I feel you had 2-0.
We all predicted
the win. So we all predicted the win. So we're all happy with that. So we all got a point each there in that.
Well, I'm particularly happy because I want to say I haven't transferred him in. I had Jack Grealish in my fantasy football starting lineup from day one, and I knew Jack was back. Get Pep Guardiola out of the way, and a real Jack Grealish, please stand up.
It's a good move. That's a great move, to be fair, Phil.
He's a steal at 6.5 million.
Is that all he wants?
Yeah. Absolute steal.
He's going to get you some points this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's doing me proud at the minute.
Saturday we also had Leeds at home to my beloved Newcastle, and probably the worst
Oh,
game I've
Sean,
seen in about 10
I was just
years.
going to
It was
say, you
dreadful.
go first. You tell us.
What's to talk about? It was an awful game.
I'll be honest. What the most exciting thing that game did was it made me nearly crash my car as I fell asleep driving back up from the Midlands on the weekend, listening to it on TalkSport. Honestly, if the Man United match or whichever match we talked about was everything you'd want to see as a neutral in a football match, the Leeds Newcastle match was everything that you wouldn't want to see in a football match. Just oh my word, 90 minutes.
Parts of it. It did look. And again, I'll go back to the point I was saying. Sean, I know you've just signed you've got a couple of attackers now, but in that game, I know you've got the young lad, and it just seemed like that game when you don't have that centre forward or that attacking presence, you're going to get performances, and that's what I think Newcastle have had.
Yeah.
Again, we go back against Villa, but we were down to 10 men for 40 minutes of the game, and you couldn't break us down because of, I believe, that you just didn't have that attacking flair, and it's
no spear point. No one's break a defence down. No one's hold the ball up. Very lackluster. Anything coming in from the wings was met with nobody.
it was
A few
just a
chances
good
that we did have weren't great.
really. It just
Highlight of the game was probably ex-Toon boy Sean Longstaff clattering into a couple of our midfielders.
Yeah, he
fair play
let
to
him
him.
know that he's
And do you know
there.
what? In all fairness, fair play to Leeds. They've probably got a good point out there that they probably weren't expected to get. So
If you're a Leeds fan, you're taking that all day long, in my opinion.
absolutely.
Before the season kicked off and before all the old Isaac debacle and stuff, I think a Leeds fan, you're looking at that. I was saying as well, obviously, I've got a family that are Leeds United fans. 4 points from the opening 9. I think as a promoted team, you're going to take that all day long. I mean, you were probably expecting to get thumped by Arsenal if you're a Leeds fan. No disrespect.
Absolutely. I mean,
And then the home form or the performance against Everton. Everton hadn't really kicked at the start of the season, wasn't it? The crowd at Ellen Road probably play. They say it's the 12th man at Ellen Road. I do believe it is that. So they'll be looking at that as a good point. Wasn't probably the best game of the weekend in my opinion, but I think Leeds are more happy with a point than what Newcastle would have been. But equally, Sean, you didn't lose the game, so let's just spin that as a positive.
so we all scored nil.
I'm just going to interrupt slightly. I would say I think that's exceedingly generous of you. Like as only in terms of if I'm sat here, I just put the counterpoint forward. I guess is that Newcastle are a Champions League club meant to be competing for the top 4 spots in this country, and you're saying there should be at least they've drawn a game against a newly promoted club. Like
I agree, but then the
levels in there, right?
There's no striker. The debacle that's happened around it. Obviously, the second best player's been suspended.
I guess part of my angst, I've still got PTSD from last season, haven't I? Because when Arsenal had no striker last season, nobody gave us any leeway for drawing with shit teams at the bottom. So I think if you're gonna set standards as pushing on, and I know both your clubs are, if you're gonna set standards of pushing on to become Champions League clubs, I don't think you can say you're happy drawing with a newly promoted club, because I said nobody would have said that about Arsenal last season, and we're in exactly the same boat. So I don't think you should be back with a draw, and I do think like Nathan's absolutely hang on. I think the two new strikers elevate Newcastle, and I cannot see when Gordon's back and those 2 strikers are in. I don't think you'll have any issues scoring goals. So I do think you've rectified it in the back of the transfer window, but I still think you should have enough to beat Leeds.
Yeah, we should be able to beat Leeds.
Because I don't think you have to withdraw.
It was a difficult game. I mean, like I say, normally we've got a focal point up front, and there just wasn't that outlet. Leeds were really good.
That's why I was saying that
they strangled that.
I think though maybe Eddie Howe should have thought outside the box. Like so I think you mentioned it in another show we'd done earlier this week, where why not? Right, that game, like I say, I nearly crashed my car in boredom. Right, why not? If you're Eddie Howe, and I appreciate Eddie Howe is a good manager, right? But sometimes, and we'll come on to and shake my own manager in a minute. But like sometimes shake these managers, just do something out the box to become like. Why not? With half an hour to go, just tell Dan Burn to go up front. If you're missing a focal point, why not tell him to go up front? And every time he took a corner and a free kick, he should just literally on his head. That's it. Everybody else can rattle around him. Even when who played in goal, Ramsdale or Pope? But even when the keeper's kicking it out, literally, Ilanga and whoever else you had on the flank, aim for Dan Burn. He's going to knock it down. You're running through. Like, why not just try something different to dominate it? But they just don't, do they? Like, to be fair to, and we'll come on to him, but like Arnie Slot, like against you guys and against us, you got Szoboszlai. He's attacking midfielder playing right back.
Yeah.
Like, do something different that's going to try and break it open. So, you could do what we see. And again, I'm not saying Amorim's any kind of tactical genius, but you see him sticking Harry Maguire on to go up front when they're struggling. Like, why not just try something like that? Stick Dan Burn, right? Just go up front, pal. We've got defenders for days. You just said it, Sean. We need a target man. Go up front for half an hour. What's the worst that could have happened? You still got a 0-0 draw. Well, you got that anyway. So,
I mean, it played to the way Eddie Howe set up. Like, it were going to be a very defensive show, and I was quite surprised. I mean, I originally thought that he might have gone with Elanga through the middle and start Murphy on the right. At least that's something direct, but it just wasn't to be, and it were a shit game. We were poor.
He did play a strike though, didn't he? He played that Asula, but obviously he's still young, isn't he? I know he had that goal against Liverpool the week before, but he's still very inexperienced.
He's very raw, very, very young. Yeah, I mean, there was talk of him today on deadline day leaving.
Well, we agreed a £30 million fee, which I find really bizarre. Like, I don't know why.
It wasn't you. So Villa came in with a loan offer, and it was Frankfurt. So it would have been Etiquete's replacement at Frankfurt, which is
strange.
Bizarre. But,
strange.
Eddie Howe decided to pull the plug at last minute anyway. So
I don't see what that Asula offers Villa in terms of what we haven't already got in terms of a decent new striker, in my opinion.
When I saw the news breaking earlier on that subject, I was quite surprised myself, to be honest with you. It didn't make sense to me that.
Bizarre. Maybe it's journalists putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5. So
like they typically do. So yeah. Then we had another shock on Sunday. We had Brighton City.
Not for me. I predicted a Brighton win.
I tell you what, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how City go under the radar, isn't it? Because everybody desperate for Man United to mess up. Everybody wants to talk about Liverpool, Arsenal, but how on earth Pep Guardiola is dodging media scrutiny for the fact that they've dumped 2 games out their first 3, and 3 of their easier games of the season. They seem, and I don't get it. They seem to be. I mean, Sunday was just nuts. I'll be honest.
The first half, I believe I seen Haaland's goal, but they were in control, weren't they? To be fair,
it just came out to somebody. I was watching that and the Nottingham Forest match side by side, and they both. I know we'll come on to Forest, but they literally with 15 minutes to go, they both seemed like done deals. And then I literally walked away to put the dinner on and come back, and I was like, what the hell's happened there? But just how they're dodging that. They just seem exactly like last season. They've got all the talent in the world, but without Rodri, they've got no control. They just can't seem, even when they look like they're in control, they're capable of a complete wobble. And Haaland saved at the end. He looked like he was raging in that centre circle, like he was clapping the fans, but he looked like he was fuming. Just a really odd performance from City.
It was a penalty. I did see the penalty incident for Brighton. I think it was a penalty, in my opinion. So. Milner took his goal really well. The penalty well, didn't he? I mean, it was a good penalty. Sent the keeper the wrong way, and then the goal that won it obviously did he get a second bite of the cherry? Did the keeper save it? And then he whacked it in. So
like I say, they just seem in exactly the same place. Now it's going to be interesting, isn't it, when Rodri comes back. Is it literally? And I know this is some sort of seems a crazy thing to say with the Guardiola, but is it literally that City are a one-man team? Will they just look solid again when Rodri comes back? Is that literally the missing ingredient? Because
maybe, but then you're expecting a player that's been out for a long time to come back in and be the main man again. That takes time, doesn't it? He's got to win. Yeah. The fitness has got to be built up and everything like that. So there's no guarantees he comes. I'm not, I believe he's probably one of the best midfield, before he got injured, probably the best midfielder in the world or in his position. But it's going to take a bit of time for him to build that match fitness back up, that sharpness, that everything. And, Pep is going to be hoping and praying that he can rediscover that form and get back to that very quickly, because the inconsistency from City already, like you've just said, Phil, 2 out of 3 games as a City fan, you're thinking, wow, do we need to worry here now, because we've spent a whole lot of money again, We said this in a show before we started recording these podcasts, but are we seeing the sort of back end of the cycle of Pep Guardiola? Is he getting towards that point where he's like, I've done all I can with City now? That everyone's worked us out. Everyone knows how we play now. There's nothing new about us.
I think people forget how cyclical football is, don't they? I mean, we all live in the here and now, and we all want to think we live in a time of greatness, but we all forget, don't we? Liverpool absolutely dominated the 80s and then went 35 years without winning the title. So we all started going, I can't believe City are dropping off, but why not? No one would have believed 12 years ago that Man United would have dropped off and not won a title for 12 years. So football is a cyclical sport. Like, teams come together for moments, have success.
I think he can see in his body language. I think he can see in his body language, Pep Guardiola, that he's close. Like obviously he got persuaded to sign the new deal, but I think if he doesn't go before his deal finishes, I think he's going to.
Trouble. I think we touched on. I think when we were going through some of the warm-up shows last year. I don't think people give enough credit for the amount of upheaval has been in his personal life.
I do get it.
He's gone through a life changing from a personal point of view, and no one, everyone goes, oh, he's paid a shitload of money. So what? Like, once you pay money within reason, doesn't mean anything, does it? Like, if your personal life's in shit, it's still going to get in your head. It's still going to mess with your performance of your job, because it has to. So I think people don't give that enough. And at the same time, he's lost Rodri, and he's lost De Bruyne, and he's trying to rebuild a team, and that's not easy. When you're
the signings, I have to question though, Phil. Like they spent £45 million on that Kushinov. It looks that. I think it was his first game last season. He had an absolute mare. He just doesn't look ready for the Premier League. I know, obviously, it's not always about one game, but they paid 45 million quid for this guy, and he's still not starting.
The trouble City have got is they're paying for their success, aren't they? So when you have the success they've had, everybody expects your players to hit the ground running, don't they? Nobody wants to go, it's all right. They've had an off week or two because, like you said, because that guy's finding this. People go, no. If he's not finding this, if he's not hitting the ground running, he needs to be out. And we need someone back in.
You've got to come into City. There's high expectations of you've got to come in. Like that guy who scored that. Is it Reinders?
Yeah, Reinders.
He had that really good game against Wolves, and then last couple of games he's been bang average. So it's very hit and miss. That Shirky who signed from, he's injured now, isn't he? He's gone for a couple of weeks. Marmouche again.
Flat to the stage, doesn't he? He seems to struggle. It's really interesting. He played really well towards the back end of last season. I had him in last season's fantasy football.
It's a miss, isn't it?
He really seems to struggle when Haaland's in the team.
Yeah.
Marmouche struggles when Haaland's playing, and the trouble is you can't not play Haaland, because even when he's playing badly, he scores. So
what a record though, Haaland. Is it something like 88 games, 100 or nearly 100 Premier League or whatever he's got? Like, absolutely outstanding record. I think if he carries on like this, then there's no doubt in my mind that he'll break Shearer's record.
And the thing for City is that it covers so many cracks for them, because as long as you got him in the team, you're never out of the game, are you?
That goal there that he scored is just what a world-class. He knows where that ball's going to be. He can see it a minute before everyone else. He anticipates it, and that's the difference. That's the reason why he's so electric. You can see it's what world-class players have, Phil and Sean. They've just got that half a yard on everybody else, and that's what he's got. And like I say, what a fantastic record he's got at the minute. Yes, I know the last few seasons he's been in a world-class team, but you still got to, when you get the chances, you've still got to score them. So he's putting them away. But he took the goal really well, and I thought City were sort of more or less in control of that game. And then, to lose that game 2-1, you'll be incredibly disappointed as a Man City fan. You'll be like, we shouldn't have been losing that game. So.
Well, moving on from that one, we had a really interesting game in Forest and West Ham, and I think we were all surprised by the result in that one. I don't know if any of you guys
was surprised by the result in that one.
I mean, Phil, you put a 2-0 Forest win. I had 2-0, and Nathan, you had 3-1 for Forest in that one.
Massively. Again, that's probably the second Ackerbuster, obviously behind the game, the Tottenham game. So. Again, you've late goals, or was it 3 goals in from 80 odd minutes?
It was crazy.
You can't. I mean, I'm in no position to sort of criticise teams at the minute the way my team are playing. But like, from a neutral perspective, you can't concede 3 goals in, or you can't be 0-0, 82 minutes and then go on and lose 3-0. That is just scandalous. And Forest, for everything they did last season, they've made a lot of signings this season. Are they going to integrate properly? We already know that Nuno and Marinakis don't see eye to eye. Again, that's another worry for a Forest fan.
Do you think that played a part this weekend in that?
Maybe, but obviously
Because there was talk of him being sacked at the weekend, wasn't there?
He's still being backed in the transfer window though, because Forest are still signing players, aren't they? So, but again, are these board director signings or are these manager signings? There's a difference between the two, isn't there? So, like Phil was saying about the Man United and Sesko one. So, are we seeing Marinakis and his team signing these players, knowing that Nuno Espirito Santo is going to be gone in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to bring in a manager that we know that can manage these players, but it's not great when your owner and your manager don't see eye to eye, and it's public as well. So
it makes it awkward, doesn't it?
But if you're West Ham, it's a much needed win. Obviously, I know Graham Potter under massive pressure already.
It's the perfect win for Potter, isn't it? Because the reality is you've killed all the stories of the international break. Yeah. It's just West Ham fans going to international break on a really big high. And there's no noise, and Potter and the squad can have a couple of days off, get back on the training ground, and they're not under any grief and under any pressure. Football's very, very, like you said, Nate, about we were talking earlier about Isak being forgiven if he'd have gone back to Newcastle. Like, people are fickle, like no one. Yes, they want you to have an overall run, but people got first couple of games, bit rusty to start season, but we've won 3-0. Immediately you just got that feel good bounce on you.
To score 3 goals in the last 10-15 minutes is it's outstanding from the perspective of winning, but from conceding it, it's just scandalous. So, but yeah, a much needed win for West Ham. So, but we all predicted it wrong, didn't we? So
yeah. So again, no choir across the board for all 3 of us there. Let's move on to the interesting games on Sunday. Let's start with Liverpool and Arsenal.
The smash and grab.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll go through our predictions. So Phil, you put 3-1. Nathan, yourself put 3-1, and I put 4-2. All in favour of. Oh, sorry, no, Phil. You had 3-1 Arsenal. So
we all go for Arsenal win? So
sorry. So Phil had it off 3-1 for Arsenal. Nathan, you had 3-1 Liverpool. I had 4-2 Liverpool.
All right, I thought I went for Arsenal.
How dare you two bet against our defence? Honestly, unbelievable.
It was Phil, you watched, from your perspective, just didn't seem like they got going, did they? Just not at the races. I know a moment of brilliance settled the game, but I think both teams, it was very edgy and very,
I think it's one of them where that moment of, I mean, I don't know what happened, because I mean, when he was lining up to that free kick, I literally turned to my lad and I said, he's going to score this. He's like, what are you talking about, Dad? I was like, he's going to score this, you watch. And then he went, no, Dad, he's not too far. And then the ball hit the back of the net, and I was like, I told you, could just feel it coming. But it's one of them, innit, where I think we decided we were happy with a point with half an hour to go. I think we played with the shackles on for too long. I think once you saw Dowman and Eze come on, and
that a bit too late, Phil, when you brought them on, do you think, or not?
Yeah, I think when you look at what they both did, they both terrorised their fullbacks once they came on, and they weren't on soon enough. Like, they should have come on 65 minutes, something like that, if not 60 minutes. Like, but Arteta wanted the control. It's a difficult one to criticise, right? Because had that game ended 0-0, everybody would have been going, that's a really good point away at Anfield. And at the end of the day, that free kick was a flipping worldie, wasn't it? Like, it absolute top goal. The only place where I couldn't reach it. It was unbelievable. So that moment has completely shifted the narrative of the game. My only disappointment was, I think there are times where Arteta worries too much about control and not enough about winning the game. I don't know if did you see any of the match, either of you, or not?
I've seen a bit of it. Like, I've seen it in patches.
I think I dropped you both a message too. Like, what the hell was the kickoff about? Did you see the kickoff?
I didn't see the kickoff, no.
So the kickoff of the first half, Arsenal are kicking off, Declan Rice steps up to kick it off, and do you know what he does? I couldn't describe it any better than he takes a rugby union kick-off. So he kicked it to Liverpool's corner flag for a throw-in. He didn't even knock it backwards. He just ran up and kicked it to the corner flag. First kick of the game.
Bizarre.
Like, it was almost like going, yeah, we'll give you possession in your half because we're happy with our press and we'll try and take it off you up there, rather than we trust ourselves to pass the ball through your lines and get to your goal. It was just weird as a routine. And like I say, we were absolutely in control. I think we were the more dominant team. I'll be honest, nothing in that game makes me think Liverpool are a better team than we are at all. I think we were, like I say, overall, I wasn't on this show, was it? I think, you look at William Saliba came off, and again, we talked for it on the show about Arsenal strength in depth now. 5 minutes, William Saliba comes off injured. Mosquera comes on.
Was it hamstring or was it something?
He twisted his ankle in the warm-up, and he said he thought he could run it off, and then within 5 minutes he'd done 2 jumps for headers, and he just couldn't run it off, so he came off. But Mosquera came on. He's 13 million quid from Valencia. Absolutely had Ekitike tucked up for the entire game. Do you know what I mean? He barely had, and I have watched Liverpool matches this season, and I've been super impressed with Ekitike. So the fact he was so quiet and Salah was so quiet, Calafiori had an unbelievable game. So we were in control. But you don't win football matches by being in control. You win football matches by scoring goals, and we were so in control we forgot to attack, and that was the issue.
I think for me, I'll just different on regarding the free kick, and maybe it's just me, but like questioning Ray's position. Like I think if it had moved slightly sort of to his right, he may have got a hand to it, but he looked to me like it just maybe it was the whip of the ball, but I don't know. I watched the goal. It just seems like he was slightly too far to the too far left and to be too far right.
It was because it was central. He didn't know whether Szoboszlai was going to go left or right. So
I'm not taking nothing from Szoboszlai.
No, I'm saying he came central.
It was a great free kick.
When you see it from behind the goal, he came central because of where the Liverpool wall was. So he had to move right to see past the wall to see the ball. But
just frustrated because you think with how good Ray has been, could he have got a hand to it? Again, this isn't maybe too overcritical. So
I'll go with him. Yeah, I'm not blaming him for that. I think you've just got to, like, when you look at where that ball goes in, it was just like with Declan Rice against Madrid. You know what I mean? It was just perfectly in the corner, scraping the post as it goes over the line. And it's one of them. Like I say, if it doesn't go in, everyone goes, "Oh, Arsenal, that was a really good point to get at Anfield." But we just. I'm not buying into most of the media narrative, but I do think there are times we should acknowledge the fact, we could have damaged them if we'd attacked them. You looked at that last 10 minutes after they'd scored. Eze was dancing past Szoboszlai for fun. Dowman was dancing past Kirkes for fun. We were creating chances, but we only created the chances because we suddenly realised, shit, we're going to lose this match. We should have been dancing past them when 0-0. We should have gone, we can win this match. Like, that was the frustration.
The classic example, though, Phil, of Liverpool not played particularly well and won the game, and that, again, they always say it's a mark of champions, isn't it? That we know they don't have to play well but get the result, and that's what Liverpool did. And like to your point there, that's what I think that Arteta needs to be a little bit more ruthless with, where try and get the win rather than go for the control, because like you say, if you'd have got that point, it was a good point, but this is what good teams do. Great teams win when they're playing bad or they don't having the best game. And again, a moment of brilliance, I accept that. But that's what it seemed to me like, that it just looked a little bit too negative from Arteta.
His difficulty is the weight of history, isn't it? Like, we haven't won at Anfield for, it'll be 14 years now. And I think they're so obsessed with this stat of, like, we've not won there for 14 years. It becomes okay to go for a draw, and it shouldn't be okay to go for a draw. I think, like I was saying to Sean about the Newcastle and draw with Leeds, within reason, I don't think Arsenal should be happy drawing with anybody. Like I said, there's absolutely nothing I saw on Sunday that makes me think Liverpool are a stronger team than we are. Nothing at all. So why would we go at them? Like, I think we looked like the better team. We looked like the team was in better control. So why were we not going at them in the second half? In the first half, we had them contained. The second half, about 60 minutes, they stepped it up, and it was just all wave after wave of Liverpool attacks. And why didn't we step it up? Like, why did we not?
You had the players on the pitch that capable of doing it.
The positives are, again, Max Dowman, 15 years old, dancing past Kirkes for fun. Eze came on, absolutely skipping past the line, not an issue. We were creating chances. It's just they came on too late and they came on under pressure. And they should have been given 25, 30 minutes before we were 1-0 down to go at Liverpool and just attack them and put Liverpool under a bit of pressure. Liverpool's weakest point at the moment, well, and now Guehi's not signed, Liverpool's weakest point at the minute is the defence. You don't want to sit back and let Liverpool attack. It's madness. But I think, we had 7 or 8 corners in the game. I think they just assumed that something would happen from a corner. And to be fair, Liverpool stepped up. They looked really shaky from corners this season. But Van Dijk and Konate, Konate looked shocking in open play. But they defended really well from the corners perspective as a team. So they'd obviously done their own work on what Arsenal would do. But I think we should have been trying to score from open play. So, like I say, it's a bit of a strange result because I'm really happy with how we played overall in terms of we looked like the stronger team. We looked like the better team. I just think we got our tactics slightly wrong, and we got our timing of I think the substitutions were correct. I think we got the timing of the substitutions wrong. The timing, they should have come on sooner, because when they came on, they were making a difference and they were pushing Liverpool back, and we should have done that sooner. But disappointing. But do you know what? When I looked at the fixture list, we've got Man City, Newcastle after the international break. If that's the points we drop, rather than, we've got to make sure we don't lose to them two now, really. And if we don't do that, then we've come through the first 5 or 6 games with the right amount of points. So got to try and focus on that. But I don't think Liverpool will run. Like I said, I think yes, they've got an unbelievable attack, but they still look like a really soft underbelly. So I think teams like City, Chelsea, hopefully Newcastle. Well, they just played them already, didn't they? But City, Chelsea, I don't know, Tottenham maybe in the same way they went after Manchester City, but there are teams that'll give Liverpool a game this season. But yeah, disappointing.
For me, Liverpool are just showing that classic example of why I think they'll retain the title. I think when they're playing poor, they're just going to pick up results where other teams don't, and that's going to be the difference, in my opinion. I did say it was going to be a lot closer than last season, but yeah, a moment of brilliance. 2 teams similarly matched, wasn't there? So, but from an Arsenal fan, from an Arsenal perspective, you'd be extremely disappointed that you didn't probably put up more of a sort of attacking prowess and maybe go in and get those goals, because I believe that Van Dijk and Konate are there to be tested. And I take the point that Gyökeres is still a little bit unfit, but the attacking team that you put out and the team, more than capable of going on and testing those. So yeah, disappointing if you're an Arsenal fan, but Liverpool fan, you're happy, aren't you?
Absolutely.
It'd been a bit more of an interesting fixture, maybe a couple of weeks after the international break. Maybe I think we'd have seen a bit more of both teams more true to themselves.
I think that's probably one of the main drivers for the disappointment, really. Because I think because really, for all the media hype again, all that Gatch means is that we have to beat them at the Emirates. And I would fancy to beat them at the Emirates. So that's not a problem. But I guess from my own point of view, it's that missed opportunity, because the next time we play them, Isak will have bedded in. You know what I mean? He'll be comfortable. Wirtz, for all I comment on in the
he might start picking up form.
I expect Wirtz to get better. Ekitike still looks strong. Salah's not found his form yet. McAllister only just come back from injury. He will have been playing. They might have a right back rather than Szoboszlai. So they're going to be significantly stronger the next time we play them. So it feels like, I think some of the disappointments, but it feels like we missed the opportunity to go at them when they were at a point of being vulnerable, and we allowed them the opportunity for a worldie to win it for them. Whereas really we should have gone at them so that if they had pulled off a moment of magic, it wouldn't have mattered. My expectation was the moment of magic would come from Salah. I always expect Salah to score against us. So I think it's why I had it as 3-1. But we should have scored the goals to make sure that moment of magic didn't derail the plan, and we just didn't. So it is a disappointing result, but you know what I mean? And I think the worst thing is the fact it's an international break, so you haven't got the chance to correct it on Saturday. But shit happens. You can't win every game, so we move on.
Your boys, Nathan. Where do we start?
Well, where do I begin for that shit show of a performance?
I'll break it down for us.
Yes, I'll break it down. So I thought for the first 15 minutes, I thought we played well, but what we allowed Palace back into the game. We allowed Mateta sort of obviously to flex his muscles a little bit more. I think it was a penalty. Obviously, Mateta does well, sticks it the wrong way as you'd expect him to. We come off at half-time 1-0 down. They obviously get a massive bollocking from Emery. So we come out and we look better. So we dominate the game until 60 minutes. And then Matty Cash, who I still don't believe is good enough to play for Villa anymore. He's I would say from Matty Cash, he's been our right back now for 5 or 6 seasons now, our first choice. And I still don't, I think he's got worse. He tracks back, and then the ball gets given to Mark Gahey. What he's doing in no man's land is beyond me there. Obviously, proper sort of FIFA goal, isn't it, where he just curls it around the keeper, and that's the sucker punch. And that's in a boxing match, you've seen it, where a boxer's in control, gets caught with an hook. We say we're in control. We are 1-0 down at this time, but we are growing into the game. Gets sucker punched by that goal, and then it just goes wrong again. And then, Ismail Assar, he scores his annual goal against Villa, and we just can't seem to contain this Palace team. The way that they play with the narrow wing backs and how they picked us off. And I'll take the point that, I'll say that we didn't have Amadou Onana and we didn't have Boubacar Kamara, our 2 defensive midfielders, but we still should have put in a little bit more performance, and we into a right lot. Watkins missed a chance, so yeah, it wasn't great for us to see. And I think at this time when the game was on, the Martinez situation didn't help. I think Phil mentioned it, the way Gaze obviously handled this sort of speculation. I know we didn't get the move eventually, but the Martinez sort of thing obviously pissed Emery off. It might have pissed a lot of the team off. And this is why I said I'm glad now that as we finished doing this recording, the transfer deadline is over now and we can move forward with our team. The international break for us has come at a really good time, because I do believe that we need to regroup, and we just need to. I know what we're capable of, and the 3 performances we put in, I know we're better than that, and we have to get better than that. I've said on the previous show that we've got Everton away next, and Grealish and co are going to want to, they're going to look at us and, we're bang out of form, haven't scored a goal. They're going to fancy there's chances against us at the new stadium. So we've got to go there with a game plan and try and win, because again, if we don't win that game, that's 4 games without a win. And then as good as I think Unai Emery is, he gets a lot of credit. The question is going to be then is, right, the manager's starting to be under pressure. It doesn't matter what credit you've got in the bank. If we lose 4 games in a row, don't score a goal, that's going to be worrying. But I'm hopeful now that we can go, get the players back after the international break, regroup, and kick on from there. So, I'd probably take a draw at Everton and probably look at the Sunderland game for us to kick on, in my opinion. But the sort of the competitive football fan in me wants us to go to Everton and win. So it wasn't great. I predicted Villa would win. I don't know whether you 2 boys did predict Villa as well.
Hey, Shawnee boy.
So you had a 2-1 win for Palace, and I had a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I didn't think it was the game
2-1
suggests.
to Villa you had. 2-1 to Palace you had, yeah.
I mean, sorry, Nick, but
I didn't think that the scoreline reflected sort of. We played well in parts. I mean, we were in control most of the second half, and like first 15-20 minutes of the first half. So it's just that they had the chances and they took the goals, and ultimately that's what they did. So really, really disappointing as a Villa fan for the first 3 games, because I feel like we just had the Newcastle game started. We had the man sent off, so we were playing with 10 men. But particularly against Burnley, they didn't have Wissa. I know he's gone now, but they were there to be had as well, and we're just not performing. Morgan Rogers, for me, I'm one of my biggest fans, but he's done absolutely nothing in the first 3 games, nothing. And the same as Ollie Watkins. So I'm looking at these 2 particularly because they're leading the line at the minute. They're the ones leading the line for Villa. They've got to start stepping up and start earning the money and start putting the ball in the net and creating chances. So yeah, I'm disappointed.
You've got a few people in today on transfer deadline day, so
Yes,
hopefully, like you say, you can kick on. We'll obviously get into the predictions for the next round of fixtures next week when we're live then. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe for that.
We've all got to suffer an England match this weekend, haven't we?
We do. And
It's at Dora, isn't it, at Villa Park, I believe.
And we'll touch on a little bit of that as well next week. So, like I say, make sure you tune in for that. But for this week, I think, yeah, it's been an interesting one. Lots of drama, lots of VAR decisions.
Couple of unexpected results.
Why we love football, right?
Results. It's
why we love it.
It's better than Brookside.
If anyone else saw Simon Jordan's PSR rant, it's a great watch. Honestly, go check it out on TalkSport website. It's a great watch. He really does summarise PSR up. Yourself, Nathan, will know how frustrating PSR rules are, especially the way they've affected both yourself and me over the last couple of transfer windows. So yeah, go check that out. It's a really good watch.
I'm just glad it's finished now. I'm glad that the window's closed now from a Villa perspective. Yeah. That's it for me now. So
yeah, join us again next week. We'll catch up on Monday or Tuesday next week on we'll predict our results for the following weekend and touch on a little bit about the England international break as well. So join us then. So for me, that's goodbye.
Thanks, folks. Have a good one.
Thanks for watching, guys.
See you all later. Like, follow, subscribe. See you all later.